that the recording is
Yep.
started. Okay, wonderful.
Sure can.
Awesome. So we can get started. Kassi, thank you so much for joining. We've been in touch, I think, over the last 1 year or so. You have literally single-handedly guided Oaken's roadmap and our vision and provided us a lot of guidance over the last year. So we are deeply appreciative of all of that work and guidance that you have provided over the last year. So welcome, and it's really a pleasure to be here. I wanted to start off by just kind of asking you a little bit about Tom Farms. Tell us a little bit about Tom Farms, how it got set up, how did you come to be in Indiana? Tell us about the Tom Farms story.
Sure. So our ancestors came here a long time ago, but more forward thinking. I guess my grandparents actually started the farm back in 1952 officially. Grandpa had always farmed, so had his ancestors, his parents, his grandparents, and so on and so forth. So he officially started the farm back in 1952. They had 5 children at the time, and certainly just looking for a way to feed and clothe and all the things for their kids. And so Grandpa started with about 100 acres just down the road from where we're at today. And today we grow on quite a few more acres, around 18,000 acres is what we have in production today. So I often say my grandpa started our farm and my dad grew our farm, and this is where we're at today. So today we grow on several thousand acres. Along with that, we have a grain facility that we store about 3.3 million bushels of grain, not only our own grain, but we hold other people's grain as well, other farmers in the community. And we farm in 7 counties actually here in northern Indiana. So we grow corn, soybeans, and seed corn, all specifically for Bayer Crop Science.
That's just an amazing story. So that from 1952, Tom Farms has been in quote unquote continuous legal existence, I would say, but your ancestors have been farming for much longer than that.
Much longer. I feel like everybody's a farmer.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you're growing crops, but you could be growing kids, or you could be growing, a vegetable garden. Everybody's a farmer. So I think back then, everybody farmed because that's just what you had to do to support your family. So that's what Grandpa and Grandma did. I always have my grandpa, he passed away actually in February of 22. He was just the most incredible person, but I always asked him to share a story of what has happened over the course of his lifetime with farming and what's the most advancement that he's seen. And I often ask him to share this story when we have people visiting the farm, if he happened to pop in. And he would say, and Sashi, I'm not sure if I would ever share this story with you or not, but he would always say, when we went from horses to an actual tractor. Could
Wow.
you imagine seeing that in your lifetime? So he was 93 when he passed away. And so that was his biggest aha, whoa, what is happening? So when he went from planting with a horse, an actual living animal, to using horses under an engine. So anyway, very different, and certainly we've come a long way, but certainly have taken steps to really take hold of our heritage, because it's so important with that history. So,
and talking about heritage, I noticed the background that you have on your screen. Tell us a little bit about that. I know we spoke a little bit about it before the call, but
so just to move over just ever so slightly, this picture was taken a few years ago by a gentleman. His name was Michael Maddie. He's a photographer, vlogger. He does all the things, I believe, out in the Pacific Northwest. But he was here visiting family. I think his parents are still in our neighborhood here, and he was visiting family. And the state of Indiana was actually doing a competition to see who took the best photo for a stamp, and Michael actually won. So this background behind me was actually on an Indiana stamp, which is quite remarkable. We bought up a whole lot of them just to have them because we knew it was our field, but it's literally about 5 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. It was a seed corn field, and that's how we recognized it. We didn't realize it was ours until we recognized that, oh, that's a seed corn field. There's a few of those around that aren't ours, but we knew exactly where this one was at. So he captured that moment in time with the sun setting, and it was just a beautiful picture that he captured.
That's just a fantastic story. It's just a great story. And Amazing to have that. I mean, stamp, is it still in circulation or is it out of circulation?
I think it's out of circulation at this point. If I probably really wanted some, maybe I could try to get some, but I think we still have some floating around our office too. So it's a great memory, and I use this picture a lot because it's just such a great picture.
Yeah, for some of us who are listening, I mean, I think you're very active on social media, especially the Tom Farms handle, and on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook. And there's some absolutely stunning pictures of Tom Farms kind of, in the harvest time or in the planting season, especially during daybreak, just gorgeous pictures. So, keep those coming. We absolutely enjoy that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoy those. And to be real honest, I used to be the only one that took pictures until I told our guys one day, I'm like, hey, if you see like a great picture opportunity, just snap it and send it to me. And they all took a hold of that. And typically, we have employees from South Africa, and they are the best ones at capturing those pictures. So some of them have drones and all kinds of things. But they're really good about capturing the moment. And so I'm super happy, and it just makes my job a little easier. But they capture some really great moments.
That's awesome. Kassi, I wanted to ask you, we spoke a little bit about Tom Farms. Tell us your story. What got you involved in the farm activities? What does your work kind of span today? What responsibility that it spans today?
Sure. So back in the day when I was growing up, I'm from a divorced family. So my parents are divorced, and there were 5 of us. And growing up, I think it was in the 5th grade when my parents got divorced. And not that entails in the story, but there were 3 girls and 2 boys. And while we didn't spend a lot of time here at the farm growing up, we actually moved to town with my mom. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the farm. And as I was going through high school, and I did a couple of years at college, and I wasn't here a lot. However, always involved somehow, right? Like maybe I would do a side project for my dad, or I ran the potato office. We grow potatoes way back in the day. And I actually had like a typewriter, and I would type up the bills of lading, and I think that was when I was in college. But anyway, so I had a little piece of, I was helping a little bit here at the farm, not day to day or anything like that. But as I got out of high school and I decided college wasn't for me, I actually worked at a bank, and then I went into the orthopedic field. So folks watching this probably don't realize this, but Warsaw is only about 10 minutes from where we sit here in Leesburg, Indiana. And Warsaw is the orthopedic capital of the world. So I often tell people, if you know somebody with an artificial hip or knee or shoulder or that sort of thing, it was probably manufactured right here in Warsaw. Okay. So anyway, I worked in Warsaw at an orthopedic company. It was Biomet, and now it's Zimmer Biomet. The 2 companies merged that were here in town. But anyway, so I worked at Biomet, and I was traveling a lot. I was handling auditing for them, and I was all over the place. First, it was Western, the U.S. Western part. Then I had a district in the Eastern part, and in Canada and Puerto Rico. In the meantime, I had gotten married, and we had started a family, and I was traveling quite a bit. And if anybody knows anything about farming, and my husband's worked at the farm long before I did, it gets tricky if one of you's traveling, specifically during harvest or planting season. So at that point, Dad came to me and he's like, I have this opening for someone to handle our logistics. Would you be interested in that? And I was kind of doing a little bit of that at Biomed at the time. And had 2 young kids at home, and it just really worked out. So Greg and I have been married for 25 years, and 22 of that he's worked at the farm. Which is pretty amazing. I've been here for about 17 years. So when I first came to the farm, like I said, I worked in logistics. We had an over-the-road trucking company. Okay. I was handling all the shipments in and out, getting back hauls, doing all the things that you have to do for over-the-road trucks. In 2012, we actually sold off that portion of the company. It just didn't fit our core. Our core is farming, and those trucks, while they did help out during a lot of that time, they were really just hauling other things. They weren't hauling commodities. That business had just grown enough that it was just time to part ways. And so we kept the drivers, and had them haul grain, and they weren't over the road anymore, and they were happy about that, and it just worked out really well. So that led me into taking care of all things people here at the farm. So land partner relationships, HR, hiring, all the talent that goes behind that, all those things. When we have visitors, events, those sorts of things kind of fell onto my plate at that point. So that's kind of what today is what I'm doing. So I handle all things people. People ask me what I do all the time, and I said I just take care of people is typically what I do.
So what does a day in the life of Kassi look like?
Boy. I never know. It's so hard, Sashi. I don't even know what shoes to wear some days because I'm like, where am I going to be today? So for example, on Monday, we started harvest, and I was helping move people around, doing things like that, trucks around, that sort of thing, along with payroll and everything else that needed to get done on Monday. So a typical day for me, not one ever looks the same. Hardly ever, but typically I'm meeting with people, whether it's land partners or vendors, suppliers, that sort of thing. I'm shuffling people around from place to place. I'm meeting with visitors that come and visit. Before COVID, we had, oh my goodness, in 2019, I believe we had a visitor from every continent with the exception of Antarctica. We're definitely starting to get back into that with having lots of visitors come. People find us on social media, which is a ton of fun. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job is just welcoming people and sharing our story with them and figuring out what we have in common. And most times that's quite a lot. So that's kind of what my day looks like. You just never know, specifically during harvest, because I can be pulled in 6 different directions all at the same time, but that's okay. I just told our guys this morning, I said, hey, I don't have any travel booked in the next 6 weeks or so. So just use me. However, whatever that might look like I'm willing to help do whatever it takes to get the job done. Whether that be help move people or whatever the case might be. Happy to help.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned, Kassi, that Tom Farms has grown from 100 acres to thousands of acres today, and you manage all things people. I'm assuming that as the farm has grown, the people part of the business has grown exponentially as well, either in terms of landowners or the number of staff you hire or where you hire from, things like that. Tell us a little bit about that, how you've seen that journey evolve over the last 17 years you've been at the farm, and what kind of challenges those have presented to you.
Sure. So probably when I started, I should look back and figure this out. When I started, there might have been maybe 10 people on staff. That was it. Today, we have about 25. 8 of those, I should say, are from South Africa. So we use the H2A program for that. I'm not exactly sure how many land partners we had at the time. And when I say land partners, these are people that we partner with, and they're landowners. Some people call them landowners, some people call them landlords. We call them land partners because we certainly see their relationship as a partnership.
Yep.
I'm going to say we had probably maybe half of what we have today. So today we have about 115 relationships we're managing with those land partners. That falls onto my plate, as well as our CFO and my brother Chris. He's leading the way right now. So we all kind of work together. But when it comes to managing those relationships, that's kind of what falls on my plate. And it could be the widowed lady, elderly woman from down the road that her husband used to farm and just has retired or passed on at this point, that she needed someone to operate her ground, and she came to us. And we're always incredibly humbled when somebody comes to us and says, we'd like you to farm our ground. That's certainly a sign of they respect the way we do things. And, or it could be, I just recently had this, we had a gentleman, he was an older gentleman that passed away, and now it's his 5 kids that run his ground, which is great, but that's just more relationships to handle. So it's all of those things that, it's always just intriguing to me that people want to have a partnership with us. And again, it's always humbling.
Okay. And you've built such a strong brand in the community. Your legacy goes back 80 and plus years as Tom
Mhm.
Farm. So there is that inherent feeling of trust that's built with land partners. Talk to us a little bit about what that means in this age where you have 100 plus land partners. What kind of activities do you do to connect with them and then really engage them and continue to build trust?
Yeah, so it's interesting when you say engaging people, because some people don't want that, but others do. So you have to really recognize who wants what, right? Like this land partner is just looking for their check every 6 months or however often we pay them. But this one might want a visit every month or a phone call, or maybe it's a text. So it's kind of all over the board, and we try to manage those relationships as best we can. Just the other day we were harvesting. It was our first field that we were harvesting in corn, and it was a brand new field for us. This is the first year we've operated on it. And so I knew we were going to be there. So I actually texted the land partner. I said, "Hey, we're at your field today." And she said, "Oh, that's great. Can I come out and ride?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So it's really walking a line and trying to figure out like, what do they want? And that's the service that we'll provide to them, or the relationship that we'll provide to them. And again, recognizing that is so very important from the beginning. That's why I like to be involved in all of those first conversations, because you want to figure that out pretty quickly. Okay. You don't want to be ignoring someone that really wants to have more of a relationship with you and have those personal touches. But so obviously recognition is important to recognize that. But other things that we do, we used to send out a newsletter, and it kind of got cumbersome, and everybody kind of ran out of time. We're not sure what people want to see. And so we used to do that often. We used to try to do it a couple times a year, and that's kind of fallen by the wayside. But certainly keeping people up to date on social media, that's an easy way. And most of our folks have social media. I mean, who doesn't? But we do have some that don't. So we keep people up to date that way. We do an annual appreciation event every year. We started that about 15 years ago now. And gosh, it's a great event. It's grown from about 100 people to 400 people. Pretty quickly it grew. So we offer a meal. We have a meal, and we'll have a speaker every year. This year we had Newt Gingrich, which was really, really exciting. Okay. Speaker Gingrich joined us virtually, but it was still nonetheless, it was just a great event. People really, really look forward to that. So those are things that we do for our land partners. Again, those little personal touches, and maybe it's a Christmas card or, a birthday card. We send out birthday cards by the handfuls. So, but all those things, people really enjoy those. And so just figuring out what people want and the kind of relationship they want is what's important to us.
And a little bit about, I got to touch on this because this is part of what we do at Oaken is to try to make that process simpler for you to manage. Talk to us a little bit about, the challenges that you've had in scaling. You said maybe between 50 to 60 land partners, about 5-10 years ago to about 100 plus today. What kind of challenges has that posed for you in terms of trying to manage those complex relationships one by one?
Yeah, so it is definitely complex. Like, it's a lot. When I started in this role, we had all of our leases in a bind, or in just like a file folder, and my dad was like, "Here you go. Here's all the leases," which is just how it worked for him that way. However, my OCD mind, it probably does not work so well for that. But so we've really tried to organize those by land partner, and we have all of their data in a file. So we have this whole cupboard of binders, I guess you could say, which has all of that. It's difficult. So today I manage those by Excel spreadsheets. I use Canva, which I know some people know about, but I use that to print out like a sheet of record basically for their payments. I hand deliver a lot of checks. So I try to hand deliver every check that I can. We do have some of our land partners are set up with ACH, which makes it really nice, specifically if they're maybe not in town or close by. So, which makes it incredibly easy. But I try to hand deliver nearly every check that I can. Obviously, May and November is a huge month for cash rent checks. So just trying to, and that's just another personal connection I can make with them. Another just, hey, here we are. We also just try to track everything when it comes to land partners. When we're meeting with them, what's going on with them? Is there anything we need to be aware of? Not only in the field, but maybe with their family as well.
Okay.
I have one land partner battling cancer right now, so I'm really keeping tabs on them. Do they need anything? I took her flowers the other day just to brighten her day. So I do all of these things in just hopes that, we can continue that great relationship and be a friend. I mean, obviously we're a partner, but we want to be their friend. We want to, if they have something that they need help with, we're here for them for that.
Understood. And, you mentioned that your father handed a file and a folder to you with all the lease agreements.
Yeah.
That worked for him. And you've kind of taken that to the logical next step, which I assume is kind of try to map this out in some kind of a spreadsheet form. Tell us a little bit about that system that you're using to track all of these.
So we have several spreadsheets we use. I have one just basically for payments. So it's like a Google sheet, which I love the Google platform. It helps with so many things, but I have a sheet that I keep all the payments listed in. This is all your payments for November. This is all your payments for December, so on and so forth. So we have that. We also have like a lease master, and it has all of their information in it, the acres, a PDF of their signed lease, the GPS coordinates of their farm, a link to that, so I can just click on it and see exactly where it's at, what's going on with it. So several spreadsheets, which is one reason I'm really excited about Oaken, to kind of bring all that in and just have just one place to keep everything. But so we're looking forward to that. But that's really the extent of it, is several spreadsheets. And I know that spreadsheets are a great thing, but really we're looking to up it to the next level. Just the same as my dad, when I took it over from my dad, like, let's up this to the next level. What can we do next to make this more organized and efficient for everybody?
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. And we certainly look forward to kind of bring that in the next couple of weeks to Tom Farms. The one thing I did want to ask you also was, you manage this communication, and you Kassi, you found effortless.
Hold on one second. Our connection is not great. Okay, let's try that again.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was just saying that you make it sound very easy. You do a lot of things. You mentioned social media, newsletters, you hand deliver checks, you keep track on leases, payments, and all kinds of other things. You even have a landowner get together, which is, I don't know how many farms do that, but I'm sure a lot of them do. But at the scale at which you operate, that I'm sure is a huge event. That kind of activity roster, which one has been for you the most kind of impactful? Which one do you really look forward to connect with landowners? And how has each one of them impacted your relationship?
Yeah, so probably the most impactful for me is that event every year, because honestly, like, I typically don't sit down during the event. I'm up talking to each table that we have. And if you ever have seen our warehouse, we have a pretty good sized warehouse, and we completely set that up. I always say it's like planning a wedding every year, because we try to just keep upping the ante on what we're doing every year. But it's a really great time where I can see so many of our land partners and their families. So not only do we invite our land partners themselves, but we also invite their families, because that farm is just as important to them as it is to us. And just the success of that farm is important, and the succession of that farm is important. And I want to get to know those next geners, right? Those next generation of folks that are going to be, maybe helping with that, maybe with those decisions on the farm. So that is one night that's just so impactful to me. Anytime I can meet with a land partner, I love that part of my job. Like, it's the best part. Like, it's just, again, it goes back to humbling, right? Like the humbleness that they just have chosen you or your family to operate on their ground that has maybe been in their families for just generations of time. So that is what's impactful to me.
That's great to hear. I'm going to kind of ask you a specific question on the next generation. I picked up on that when you were talking about the landowner relationships, and when they get together, they also bring their families, and that extended family is somebody you really want to get to know, because as land passes on to the next generation, those are the stakeholders you'll be dealing with. Any experiences that you can share about in your time at the farm where you've seen this happen? How have the dynamics shifted as kind of land has passed on to the next generation? Are they looking for more information, and how have they kind of interacted?
It's sort of a mixed bag, and it depends who you're dealing with. Some folks don't see the value in farmland, and so it's our job to educate those folks on that, right? That's a big piece of our job, is to educate them that nobody's making any more ground, specifically highly productive productive ground. So some people want all kinds of information about the farm. They want to know about the soil conditions and what we're planting on the ground, if we're rotating this year, if we've thought about other crops, so on and so forth. However, the majority, or so it seems to me, is that they definitely see the value in the farm. They want to make sure they're paid on time, and that's one thing that's really important to us as well. And some of them just want to be hands off, and that's completely fine with us. Again, it's kind of knowing your customer. And so over generations of time, I think it seems to me like people are less concerned about what's happening on the ground. I hate to say that people are concerned about money, but honestly, sometimes they just are, and you have to be okay with that. It is what it is. But teaching them the value of that farm ground for the next generation, even after them, and the next generation after that, is what's important to us. Again, we don't have any more farm ground. If anything else, it's being kind of taken away into development, or housing, or shops, or manufacturing plants, that sort of thing. So again, teaching that to that next gen is really important to us. That's one thing we talk about at our annual event every year. And we talk about our kind of story and our journey of how we've gotten here, and how important that is to us, and how important that ground is to us. So really just trying to define what they want out of it. And maybe it is information. And the great thing is my brother is a data guru. So he has every piece of information you could possibly imagine since the time we probably started farming that. I think at this point we can go back several years, and give them all that data, even back to soil testing. We keep all of that data. So it's really a cool thing when you can give them a packet of information and say, here's all of the data from your ground. A lot of them don't want that, and that's okay. Again, it's kind of knowing what that relationship needs to look like.
Yep. What advice, Kassi, would you have for farmers, both who are just starting off on their journey, trying to lease land or expanding their operations to lease land, and even more kind of mature operations who maybe don't have the hundreds of landowners that you're dealing with, but maybe even 20? What would you advise?
Well, 20 is still a lot. 115 is a lot, and 20 is a lot too when you're dealing with people, right? So I think my biggest piece of advice is to know who you're dealing with, and whether it be like the widowed woman, or maybe it is the younger generation that just took on that ground from someone that had passed away. Know your customer, and I say that to not only farmers but vendors, people that are coming to you to sell you inputs. I think you just really know your customer. Those are our customers, and obviously we're customers of a lot of other folks as well, like John Deere, for example. Like, you should know your customer. Melissa and I, Melissa's my aunt, and we work together every day. So my grandpa's daughter, my dad's sister, and we're the only two women at the farm. And I often say, like, gosh, these guys are coming in here and they maybe won't even stop back by our office, and not because they don't care, but I don't think they really understand the dynamic of our farm, and we're both owners, and certainly you should know your customer, right? So I always say, you just need to know your customer and what kind of relationships they want to have. Maybe it's hands off, maybe it's hands on, but figure that out and figure it out early. That would be my advice to anybody even coming in, or maybe the seasoned guy. Certainly, we've had land partners come to us that said, the farmer that I had before you, really, I never saw him ever. And I think that they're the ones that wanted that relationship. They wanted that hands-on, and they weren't getting it. And I think, again, they just didn't know. The farmer just didn't know.
Okay.
So
no, that's some good piece of advice right there. So certainly be kind of sharing that with our listeners. You do such an amazing job, Kassi, of the social media side of things as well. Apart from doing all of this work that you're doing, I follow Tom Farms on Twitter, and I would encourage everyone to. I mean, Tom Farms on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they're always amazing updates. You get real news about what's happening over at the farm. Talk to us a little bit about the impact social media has had on your broader relationships, and then also specifically how it's helped communicate with your landowners.
Yeah, so we started social media with Facebook, just like everybody else, basically several years ago. And really, when we started it, we said we want to encourage others, we want to tell our story, and we want to be an advocate for agriculture. Those were our top three things of what we wanted to do. So as we continued we gained quite a few followers, which was really exciting. And my brother is not so much on the social media aspect of things, but I'm like, this is really neat. We have followers from all over the place, which is really, really neat to see. That you can pull all of that data. But I use hashtag today at Tom Farms when something is happening today, like it is happening right now, and this is what I'm posting about. But I try to just inform people too, like, a lot of people don't understand about seed corn. And so I try to explain throughout the year the processes of seed corn and why seed corn is important, why corn itself is important, king corn, and why soybeans are important too. So I talk a lot about there, like, did you know, hashtag DYK, did you know that corn is, grown in every state? So I'll do that as well. So very educational minded. When it comes to people visiting the farm, that's typically how they find us. They have found us on social media. Again, like, who knew that social media could be so powerful, and people just want to learn more about us. And so our doors are always open to visitors. And then with land partners too, like, they're watching that. And so I'll go and visit someone and they'll say, oh, I saw you started harvest. So we actually have our Facebook and our Twitter linked to our website. So it's constantly updated, even though our website is super old and needs updated. That is one thing that's really current on there. So they have a really good idea of what's happening on the farm. But yeah, certainly our doors are always open for people that want to come visit. Like I said, in 2019, we had visitors from all over the place. COVID really slowed that down, but we're certainly picking up speed here again.
Okay. So that's on the informal side, and you're kind of building a great network and knowledge about what you do at Tom Farms. There's also a set of things that you do every time you enter into a relationship with the landowner. You have a lease and you have payments, and you spoke a little bit about that process. How you go and try to hand out checks to landowners wherever you can. Talk to us a little bit about the payments and how sensitive is that? You mentioned that some of them or most of them are really kind of concerned. A lot of them definitely are concerned about receiving their payments on time. How do you handle that process? What's the sensitivity and time and effort that you invest in that? And how do you make sure that meeting is really kind of impactful for Tom Farms and gets you good word of mouth?
You bet. So every time I meet with somebody, it's an impactful time for both of us to learn more about what we're doing. Maybe that farm payment is coming in November and we're deep into harvest at that point. And I'm talking to them about that. Like, those are things I meet with them about. So like I had mentioned earlier, I keep a spreadsheet of all the payments that are due, and timeliness of that is critically important. Just so important. People want to know they're going to get their check. We need to be very efficient with that. And so one thing I do is I So I would start working on my cash rent checks for the prior month about a month ahead of time, and just make sure everything is nailed down and buttoned up, making sure it's all correct. And then I just start going out and just delivering those checks. And again, having conversations about what's happening at the farm, and they want to know about us too. They want to know, and I want to know about them. Like, again, like, are they dealing with anything that we should know about that might, be impactful to their family? So again, it's a spreadsheet I keep, and I don't know what I would do without it, because it's a lot of information in there, but certainly it's so important. Like, that is probably has to be the most important pieces of my job, is getting those checks out. It's some people's livelihood. It's some people's retirement. You just never know what might be going on in the background, but it's certainly a time to learn more about them, and just visit. Just, the older ladies I visit with, I view them almost as a grandma to me, because they're just always so encouraging, and they always have to tell me about their grandkids and what they're doing. And it's just a sweet time. It's just a sweet time. And it's certainly an honor to be able to visit with them, and just visit with them and talk to them. Some of them might not have company very often. And so I think they look forward to my visit too.
Okay. That's nice. There seems to be, you mentioned May and November is when, all of these checks go out. But you're updating social media like almost every day or so, and also kind of getting the word out on Tom Farms, and probably you're visiting with some of them through the year. Now, while the process may be, peaking between Jan to March, where lease renewals peak up and everything else, just curious as to, is this kind of activity something that Tom Farms engages in through the year, or does it peak during Jan to March and then you kind of let it go for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we have cash rents spread out throughout the year. November and May are definitely the higher ones. For whatever reason, I think that's with every farmer. I think it was just a good time to set up those payments. But certainly, I will stop in and visit with land partners if I happen to be going by their homes, or if I see them out in the community. We host that event every year. We're always welcoming people into our office, even if we don't have anything going on. We have folks, land partners, that stop by and just want to check in with us. So it's not something that I just see them twice a year and that's it. And again, just kind of knowing them and what they want. I have one elderly lady that she's a shut-in, and so I try to stop and see her. She doesn't have any family that's close by. During COVID, I went and got her groceries for her, and just try to, take extra time with her, because again, she doesn't have anybody and she lives by herself. And anyway, so just those little things make a huge difference and are so impactful to people like that I feel like it's encouraging for both of us. So so certainly the conversation does not end after I deliver that cash rent check. It keeps going, whether it be just stopping by to visit, or maybe seeing them out and about in the community.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Kassi, a little bit. You mentioned, and try to get your views on something very specific. So you mentioned Tom Farms itself has grown from, let's say, about 100 acres to wherever you are today. There are many farms that are kind of consolidating. In general, US farms are tending to get a lot larger. Mm-hmm. What would be some of the challenges that you see for farms as they grow larger, especially when it comes to the people and kind of outreach and managing these complex relationships? What are some of those challenges that you see coming down the road that you may have personally seen, or also something that you're preparing for?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges come right back to the people, right? I always say, like, everybody's a farmer, right? Like, whether you're farming kids, vegetables, maybe you're farming something, right? But I think the challenges for nearly all farmers is the labor, and just having enough to get everything done. Certainly we see consolidation happening all the time. And there's a place for everybody, the small, medium, and large farmer. There's certainly a place for everybody. But for the folks that just are ready to, like, maybe retire, or they don't have anybody coming into their in their succession plan, in their pipe. They have nobody to come. That's when you hear about consolidation of things. And then if people come to us, I had a farmer come to us about 5 years ago, and it took some relationship building, but we're now going to farm his ground next year. He actually moved with his family, and they're running elder care type of facility in the Caribbean, of all places. Yeah, so he actually he moved his family there. It was about 2,000 acres or just over that, I guess. But, knowing that was coming down the pipe, just thinking about the people that you need to have in place to handle that. So it was really great farm ground that's irrigated. And so really thinking ahead of what that's going to take to manage that, right? So it comes down to labor. For us, that's probably the largest challenge. People don't want to work as hard as they used to. We do use the H2 program, which some people agree with, some people disagree with. But I think if you talk to any farmer that's having labor issues, that's certainly a huge plus that we have to our advantage that we can use. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of paperwork, but it's certainly worth it. Not only for us, but for the people you bring. I mean, the value that you're bringing them to take back home and use maybe at their own farm is massive, right? So we get our guys specifically from South Africa. South Africa is a really scary place to be if you're farmers right now. All kinds of just terrible, terrible things happening. So if we could give them an opportunity to come here and work in a safe environment, that's a huge, huge plus for us. It's definitely a benefit for both parties. So when I think about challenges, I certainly think about the labor challenge. You could talk about inputs. That certainly could be a challenge. But I think if you don't have the people to put the seed in the ground, inputs don't matter, right? So certainly labor is a huge challenge.
Understood. Well, Kassi, I think one of the, if you wanted to share any anecdote that you've come across over the last couple of years, which you think our listeners may want to listen to, about how there was a difficult relationship and you were able to turn it around, or the other way around, that'd be awesome to hear from you. But if not, that's okay too.
Sure. There's always going to be difficult relationships. Anytime you're involving people, there's always going to be difficulties that you have to overcome. Maybe it's we sprayed a little too close to a fence line and burn up some grass. That could be it. Maybe it's just a struggle with an employee that maybe you hired. So it could be all over the board. When it comes to landowners, though. Yeah. So here's an interesting story, and one that kind of just was kind of a knife in the heart type of story that was really unfortunate. So we had a land partner. He was my dad's very first land partner when my dad was young, and he just went to him and said, "Can I please rent your ground?" This gentleman did, and we had that relationship for a long time. And unfortunately he passed away, and his daughter that lived in another state assumed the ground. She got the ground when he passed away, and we had talks with her. We were going to buy the ground. Had it in not so formal writing, but she knew we were going to buy it. And unfortunately another farmer swooped in and offered her more, and she took it. And it was just like gut wrenching. You're like, how could that ever happen? But anytime you're dealing with people, you just, and unfortunately, like, the value to her was the money. It wasn't the ground. It wasn't the memories. It wasn't what her dad did to get to that point. When he bought that ground, how hard of work it was, how long we had spent on that ground. And, unfortunately, that was a tough one for us. That was really tough. But you have other ones that you're just so grateful for. And losing that 100 acres was tough. But we've gained some beautiful relationships since then. And it doesn't take away from every time you drive by that farm. You're like, but. At the same time, when one door closes, another one opens. And I say that so often because it's so true in agriculture. that when that happens, you just have to bounce back and just realize that, we're all people, we're all human, and we're all on this planet to serve whatever we want to serve. And it's just so important to know that, you're going to have hard days, but there's going to be so many more good ones. And to know that you're raising a crop to feed people that are hungry, or, help, down the road at this business or what have you. It's incredibly important, the work we're doing every day.
That's inspirational, Kassi. One last question is on the impact of, you mentioned that, that 100-acre plot, unfortunately, did not go your way. But you gained some other pieces of land.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about what happens when that plot of land goes away. How does it impact your business operations, your planning, your entire kind of logistics and input planning process?
Yeah. So 100 acres isn't much to lose in the scheme of things, right? I mean, it definitely impacts you for sure. However, if it was a larger amount, you have to think about, we're already planning for next year. Obviously, our crop is still in the ground. We just started harvest 2 days ago. So, you're constantly thinking about that. One thing we have in our leases is we have people let us know in August. I think the standard is usually December of that year. But we put in ours in August because, again, we're making those plans well ahead of time before we even think about going to the field. We know what seed variety is going to go in each field, really honestly, before it even is harvested. So again, making those plans, to lose 100 acres definitely was a loss to us, but certainly, you can tweak your ordering and whatnot as you need to. Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Kassi, I'm going to pause here. I think we've had enough material and more to kind of get the full snippets out and the full webinar out. I'll edit this. I wanted to thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome.
Taking the time.
I love doing this kind of stuff. So it's great. I love it. So we could do a part two, maybe once we start Oaken, like how incredible it is. I hope you talk about that on here, like how, I just can't wait. I just can't wait. Just send it to me. Anyway, I know I have to be patient.
Yeah, no, hopefully this is to set up the conversation, and then there will be the post one. Hopefully you like the platform and it works as expected. Mm-hmm. So I'm holding off on that one till, you give us good reviews, and then I'll be like, okay, let's do this again.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Have you done any others? Are you doing any other podcasts?
At this point, I'm going with yours. And then I think the ones post Oaken will begin I think maybe about the January timeframe. Once you have 2-3 months of usage, we have cleared all the, the mess and all the bugs that are likely to come about, and everything is working as planned. Then I'll do some webinars at that time. At that time, I'll probably do yours again, and then we have 4 or 5 other farms that have agreed to sign up. So
awesome.
We've got some good interest. Yeah, it's good. So I'm hoping to get some more. And then so right now I'm just focused on talking about the problem, talking about the space, just putting the content out there in terms of discussing this topic. And once the solution is done, then I'll talk about the solution. So this is really a setup towards hopefully what will be a good launch.
Super excited to see what you come up with. And looking forward to it. So I think those leases worked well. What I sent you, I tried to send you a kind of a variety of things that are current, right? I didn't want to send you anything old because it doesn't make any sense to have something.
No, that was perfect, because Anwar called me in the morning and he said, what we've designed does not take into account some of the lease contracts that you had sent. Because apparently in some of the leases, you had one lease, many FSA IDs, and then multiple payouts in different schedules. And the way we have our system designed today, it was not quite capturing the different schedules part.
Okay.
So
good. Yes.
So we're working on
good. Yeah, because I'm guessing every farmer too has a different contract, right? They're not all uniform. So that's why I was I'm going to send them a variety of things of how that looks. So,
I'm glad you did. So we are tweaking the system. We're learning real time.
Okay, sounds great. All right, well, looking forward to it.
Next week, we have to catch up next week, Kassi. And then I'll see you in person the week after.
Sounds great. Maybe I'll take you to this field. Maybe it'll be harvested or being harvested. That would be really cool if you could see that.
That'd be amazing.
We'll be doing something at that point. So we're rained out today. So
dear.
Anyway,
Okay.
Yes. All right. Hey, thanks, Sashi, so much.
Thanks so much.
And looking forward to talking more.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
See you then. Bye.